We're going to start the discussion about the arch arteries. Okay, so we know some basic details about the arch arteries. What are those? We have, yes, 6 pharyngeal arch artery: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The fifth arch, we know that will disappear immediately after the formation. So we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 pharyngeal arches. So now we have only 5 pharyngeal arch arteries: 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Right? So now we will write in detail. We'll see in detail about this arch artery development. Okay. Now the first arch artery, the first pharyngeal arch artery will regress and forms maxillary artery. The incomplete regression of first arch artery, which in turn result in angiofibroma. Very good. Incomplete regression of the first arch artery, which in turn result in angiofibroma. Please don't forget this. Okay, right. Now the second arch artery will regress and in turn forms stapedial artery. Very basic. So first arch artery will regress and form the maxillary artery, and the second arch artery will regress and forms stapedial artery. The incomplete regression of first arch artery, which in turn result in one tumor called angiofibroma. Clear? Right. So now we're going to draw the diagram. Now we have only third, fourth, and sixth pharyngeal arch artery. 1 and 2 already over. 1 and 2, we have the maxillary artery and stapedial artery coming from that. So now we have only third arch artery, fourth arch artery, and sixth arch artery. Now these arch arteries are connected to the aortic sac and dorsal aorta. Now see here. Now this is our aortic sac. Now what is aortic sac? See, aortic sac is nothing but this is the cranial most part of truncus arteriosus. Truncus arteriosus. Now truncus arteriosus, I hope you know that. We discussed in the development of heart tube, no? Truncus arteriosus is the cranial most part of bulbous cortex. That is the distal 1/3 of the bulbous cortex. Now that will form the truncus arteriosus will form the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. I hope you know that. Now, in truncus arteriosus, the cranial most part is called aortic sac. That is the point I am saying now. So now I have added one part called aortic sac. That is the cranial most part of truncus arteriosus. Okay. Now this aortic sac is divided into right horn and the left horn. Now for example, this is right horn say, and this is the left horn say. So we have right horn and the left horn of the aortic sac. Okay. Now on either side behind the heart tube, we have the dorsal aorta. Now I will erase all this. So now this is our dorsal aorta. Name itself you have a clue. We have 2 dorsal aorta present behind the heart tube. That is why it is called dorsal aorta. Now the right and left horn of the aortic sac, which is connected to the dorsal aorta by means of the arch arteries. So we have, yes, this is third arch artery, this is fourth arch artery, and this is the sixth arch artery. Third, fourth, and the sixth arch artery. Okay, left side, right side. Shall we proceed? Right. So now we're going to write one important point here. Please write, note. So now we know that truncus arteriosus will form the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. Now the third and fourth arch artery, which is continuous with aorta, whereas the sixth arch artery, which is continuous with pulmonary trunk. So this thing you have to know. So third and fourth arch artery continuous with aorta, and the sixth arch artery, which in turn continuous with the pulmonary trunk. Just know this point. Right. Now come to the diagram. Now we're going to start the discussion for third arch artery first. Now in the third arch artery, the carotid bud will be developing here like this. This is the carotid bud. This is our carotid bud. Now the carotid bud, it is formed on each side of the third arch artery. Now this carotid bud will form the, very good, our external carotid artery. The carotid bud formed on the third arch artery on either side will form the external carotid artery. Okay, over. Now next one, we have this arch artery. That is the third arch artery. Now this part is called proximal part of third arch artery, and that will form the common carotid artery. So please write by the side. So common carotid artery is derived from proximal part of third arch artery. Proximal part of third arch artery. Okay. Now I am going to mark this one, the third arch artery. Now I have marked the two parts of the third arch artery. What are those? Now this is A and this is B. So the third arch artery, yes, I have shared two parts, A and B. Now this A and B will form the internal carotid artery. Now tell me, what is A and what is B? What is A? Third arch artery. Which part of third arch artery? Proximal? No. Distal part of third arch artery. Very good. Now what is B? B is dorsal aorta. Very good. Which part of dorsal aorta? Cranial or caudal? Cranial part of dorsal aorta. Now please write. Internal carotid artery is derived from the distal part of third arch artery, okay, plus the cranial part of dorsal aorta. Cranial part of dorsal aorta. So internal carotid derived from distal part of third arch artery plus the cranial part of dorsal aorta. Is that clear? Any doubt? No doubt. Shall we proceed? Yes. So now we know the fate of third arch artery. See, this is what we have written in the development of head and neck module, the pharyngeal arch arteries. In that I have just listed the derivatives from the third arch artery. Third arch artery forms common carotid, external carotid, and internal carotid. So now we are seeing elaborately here. Okay. So third arch artery, proximal part forms a common carotid. Distal part of third arch artery and the cranial part of dorsal aorta will form the internal carotid, and the carotid bud will form the external carotid. Clear? Now next one, we're going to start the discussion about the arch of aorta. Now see here, the arch of aorta derived from, this is number 1 and this is number 2 and this is number 3. Now these three sources help in the formation of arch of aorta. Now again I am going to mark this as Roman letter 1, this is Roman letter 2 and this is Roman letter 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now these three will form the arch of aorta. Now what are the sources for the arch of aorta? So please write by the side. Arch of aorta is coming from 1, 2 and 3. Now tell me what is 1? What is 1? That is the left horn of the aortic sac. Very good. That is the left horn of the aortic sac. Now what is number 2? Fourth arch artery. Very good. Now left or right? Left to fourth arch artery. Left fourth arch artery. Okay, what is number 3? Number 3 is left dorsal aorta. Left dorsal aorta, caudal part of left dorsal aorta. Okay. Now these three sources, yes, they will form the arch of aorta. Okay. Now next one. We have the right horn of the aortic sac. Now come to right side. Now right side, we have the right subclavian artery. Now for this, we're going to draw the 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Now this is our 7th cervical intersegmental artery. This is 7th cervical intersegmental artery. 7th cervical intersegmental artery. On either side, yes. So many segmental arteries will be there, but we are bothered only about the 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Why? That is the one which gives contribution to the, yes, subclavian artery. 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Right. Now see the diagram. Now in this diagram, yes, we are now showing, see here, now this one, and this one. These three will form the, yes, our right subclavian artery. Now this is small a, this is small b, and this is small c. So now this A, B, C will form the right subclavian artery. Okay. Now what is A, what is B, and what is C? Yes, tell me. Now A, that is our right 4th arch artery. Very good. Now what is B? Now B is our right dorsal aorta, which is situated above the 7th cervical intersegmental artery. So B is right dorsal aorta, the small part of right dorsal aorta. B is right dorsal aorta, small part, which is situated above the 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Okay. Now what is C? C is right 7th cervical intersegmental artery. So C is right 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Now these are three sources for the formation of the right subclavian artery. Clear? So right 4th arch artery, right dorsal aorta, cranial to 7th cervical intersegmental artery, and C is right 7th cervical intersegmental artery. 4A, B and C. Okay. That's all about the fate of 4th arch artery. So right 4th arch artery forms right subclavian artery. Very good. Left 4th arch artery forms arch of aorta. So please write, please put one small box anywhere nearby and then write the 4th arch artery fate. 4th arch artery fate. Now right 4th arch artery. Right 4th arch artery forms right subclavian artery. Left 4th arch artery forms arch of aorta. Please don't forget this. In the exams, they are asking this repeatedly. Entrance exam. Okay. Right. Now what about the left subclavian artery, sir? Now left subclavian artery derived only from one source, which is at left side 7th cervical intersegmental artery. That is the one which forms the left subclavian artery. So left subclavian artery is derived from left 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Please give some star mark. So left subclavian artery is derived from left side 7th cervical intersegmental artery. Okay. Right. Now next one. The proximal part of 6th arch artery will form the pulmonary artery. This is our pulmonary artery. So please write the pulmonary artery which is coming from the proximal part of the 6th arch artery, both right side, left side, 6th arch artery. So proximal part of 6th arch artery on both sides will form the pulmonary artery. This part the distal part of right sixth arch artery will disappear. Whereas this part, the distal part of left sixth arch artery, the one which I am giving tick mark, that will persist. Okay, so please write. So distal part of sixth arch artery, right side, that will disappear. Left side, it will form the ductus arteriosus. So left side, distal part of sixth arch artery will form the ductus arteriosus. Okay, so that is the fate of our sixth arch artery. So sixth arch artery, proximal part will form the pulmonary artery in both sides. Distal part of left sixth arch artery, form ductus arteriosus. Now, what is the nerve of sixth arch? Recurrent laryngeal nerve. So the right recurrent laryngeal nerve, this is right side recurrent laryngeal nerve. Now sixth arch artery, left side recurrent laryngeal nerve, right side, left side. Now distal part of the right sixth arch artery will disappear. So now right recurrent laryngeal nerve, it is not able to hook around the sixth arch artery. Why? Because we don't have the distal part of sixth arch artery, that will disappear. Now already we don't have the fifth arch artery. Yes or no? Yes. So now the right recurrent laryngeal nerve will be hooking around which arch artery here? The fourth arch artery. Why fourth arch artery? The distal part of the sixth arch artery on the right side will disappear and we don't have the fifth arch artery. So right recurrent laryngeal nerve will be hooking around the fourth arch artery right side. Now fourth arch artery forms, right fourth arch artery forms right subclavian artery. Very good. So please write right subclavian artery. So right recurrent laryngeal nerve is arising at the level of right subclavian artery. Right recurrent laryngeal nerve is arising at the level of right subclavian artery. It is hooking around the right subclavian artery. Now what happened to left side? Now left side, the distal part of the sixth arch artery will persist and that will form the ductus arteriosus. So now the left recurrent laryngeal nerve is having longer course. It is having longer course. It is having the course both in the mediastinum and also in the neck. Having longer course because of the persistence of which artery? Because of persistence of which artery? Sixth arch artery. Distal part. Left side. That is the point you have to remember. So the left recurrent laryngeal nerve is having longer course than the right recurrent laryngeal nerve because of which artery? Likewise, we got one time question in our NEET exam, 2020 January NEET exam, we got this question. Now the answer for this question is the sixth arch artery. Because left side distal part of sixth arch artery will persist and form ductus arteriosus and the left recurrent laryngeal nerve will be relating to that. So left recurrent laryngeal nerve is having the longer course than the right side due to sixth arch artery. That is the question we got. Please don't forget. Now you may get repeat in the FMG exam or INACT exam or sometimes you get again in the NEET exam. Okay. Right. Now this is the source for the arch arteries. Now we're going to see some applied. Now before that, see the diagram. So now in this diagram, we are seeing we do one quick revision. Now the common carotid is coming from proximal part of third arch artery. Very good. Now internal carotid. Now internal carotid is coming from distal part of third arch artery and the cranial part of dorsal aorta. Okay. Now the external carotid artery that is coming from carotid bud. We know that. Right fourth arch artery forms right subclavian. Left fourth arch artery forms arch of aorta. Okay. Now left dorsal aorta caudal part will persist and help in the formation of arch of aorta, whereas right dorsal aorta caudal part will disappear. Right dorsal aorta caudal part will disappear. Caudal part will disappear. Okay. Now the pulmonary artery derived from the proximal part of sixth arch artery, distal part of right sixth arch artery will disappear, distal part of left sixth arch artery persist and form ductus arteriosus. Now I'm going to mark, this is A, this is B, and this is C, and this is D. So A, B, C, D. Now what is A? A is our, very good, right fourth arch artery. Okay, what is B? B is right dorsal aorta. Right dorsal aorta, which is cranial to seventh cervical intersegmental artery. Seventh cervical intersegmental artery. What is C? Right side seventh cervical intersegmental artery. Okay, what is D? Right dorsal aorta. Right dorsal aorta, caudal part. Caudal part of right dorsal aorta. Right. Now, we're going to discuss about the abnormal right subclavian artery. Very, very important. We are getting questions repeatedly. Again, this is expected question for FMG exam, INACT exam, NEET exam. Coming 2022 FMG exam, INACT exam, yes, we are expecting question from this abnormal right subclavian artery. Theory question already they gave. We are expecting only image based question. Abnormal right subclavian artery. Now, abnormal right subclavian artery, in that A and B will disappear. C and D will persist. So A and B, these two will disappear and C and D will persist. Okay. So abnormal right subclavian artery, which is due to, what are the arteries disappearing? These two arteries will disappear. The right fourth arch artery will disappear and right dorsal aorta cranial to seventh cervical intersegmental artery will disappear. Now C and D will persist. C and D, right seventh cervical intersegmental artery, okay, and right dorsal aorta caudal part will persist. So A and B will disappear and C and D will persist. Is that clear? Now this is our abnormal right subclavian artery. Now this abnormal right subclavian artery will be going behind the esophagus, which in turn obstruct the esophagus and cause dysphagia. So now this abnormal right subclavian artery, go behind the esophagus, and compress the esophagus, which in turn cause dysphagia lusoria. So dysphagia lusoria is due to abnormal right subclavian artery. So abnormal right subclavian artery, which is also called as lusorian artery. Another expected question. Which of the following is called lusorian artery? Abnormal right subclavian artery is called lusorian artery. Is that clear? Any doubt? No. So that's all about the pharyngeal arch artery development. Yes, a very important module for the PG entrance exam and also for the first year MBBS. Okay, so that's all about the development of pharyngeal arches. Please remember the sources for each arch artery. Okay.